Hello class, this is video number 3 on revising essay 2. You should review the comments you got on your essay in Canvas so that things are fresh in your mind. And this video will focus on citations. So we are in Canvas. Here's our class. There's Marielle saying hello. And let's go to the module called Citations. All right, so we're going to start with a review of what plagiarism is, because I did see some plagiarism in some of the rough drafts. That is okay. If we catch it in the rough draft, then you will fix it before the final draft. So first, link in the citations module, what is plagiarism? Let's go down to this part here. All of the following are considered plagiarism: turning in someone else's work as your own, copying words or ideas from someone else without giving credit, failing to put a quotation in quotation marks, meaning the exact words of your source, giving incorrect information about the source of a quotation, changing words but copying the sentence structure of a source without getting credit, copying so many words or ideas from a source that it makes up the majority of your work, whether you give credit or not. Let's go to the next document. 2 common forms of unintentional plagiarism. Plagiarism is cheating, but most of the time when people plagiarize, they didn't really mean to, or they were stressed out and they made a mistake. So let's review this. I think we looked at this once before when we were doing essay 1. Most common forms of unintentional plagiarism: using information or ideas without citing. So you must give a citation for every piece of information in your essay. That means during the essay, you put your source in parentheses. So here's an example of plagiarism in number 1. Lamar was dishonorably discharged from the Navy in the 1970s. So right in this spot here, you need a citation, and probably it'll go something like Desmond 22. I think that was page 22. So you must cite every piece of information. Some people make the mistake of only citing quotations, but a citation is for any information or idea you use that comes from some source. So in this essay, you're going to cite evicted, and you're also going to cite the sources you found in your own research. All right, number 2. Most common forms of unintentional plagiarism: using an author's exact words without quotation marks. So let's look at example number 1. So in this example, there is plagiarism. An article in the New York Times reports that between 1966 and 2012, 31% of the gunmen in mass shootings were American, according to a 2015 study by Adam Lankford. Notice there's a citation. So this student is trying to tell us where the information is from. We have the author's last names and a page number, so that's good. Except some of the exact words from Fisher and Keller are in there. And here's Fisher and Keller's exact words here. From 1966 to 2012, 31%, etc. So from here to here, that whole spot is plagiarized. So even though you've changed the sentence a little bit here and here, still you're guilty of plagiarism in this case because you've used the exact words from Fisher and Keller. So that means to fix this one, either you turn this into a quotation, or you paraphrase, meaning you take the same information, you put it in your own words. Sometimes It's even plagiarism if you use just a few words from the source. So I'll do this example quickly. Here's some words from David Brooks. See where I'm pointing? They ride an emotional and biochemical roller coaster. And then here's somebody's essay. According to David Brooks, we should sympathize with police because they undergo an emotional and biochemical roller coaster. Notice it's just a few words, but they're very distinctive. And so if you use a phrase like that from your source without putting it in quotation marks, then you have committed plagiarism. It's fairly minor in this case because a lot of it is paraphrased. But for those special phrases, you can just put that little phrase in quotation marks. Okay, so again, to review, the most common forms of plagiarism are to not give a citation at all, which is number one. And number two, another common form of plagiarism is to use the exact words from your source without quotation marks. We're going to go to our next document now.
Voice went on a walk.
That was my wife who walked by. Okay, so in-text citations handout for English 100. So in-text citations, as you guys know, means you cite your sources during the essay. So during the essay, you tell the reader where all the information is from. If you don't do it, then you've committed plagiarism. So let's look at some examples. So here's some examples of quoting, and I just have blah, blah, blah in the quote. So notice here I have page number in parentheses, and I don't have the last name because the last name is right there. Same with this example here. Notice that there's a lead-in to the quote. There's some words kind of coming up into the quote, so it doesn't just come out of the blue. So I think your main model for this whole essay should be last name and page number. That's mainly what you're doing. Notice in some cases you might be telling your reader a little bit about the source. According to a recent study by Meredith David and James Roberts. So that's some information about where the study came from. But notice that the name in parentheses is different because that's because the author of the article you found it in was Sapala. So definitely tell your reader about the source and where the information is from. And here's an example of me quoting Desmond. So you have a little lead in, a comma. Here's the quotation. Everything inside the quotation marks is Desmond's exact words. And Desmond 32, so there's the author's last name, the page number, parenthesis, and then period at the end. Make sure you put your quotation mark over here. And you don't put your quotation mark over here. Paraphrasing. Cite even when you don't use a direct quote. So these are similar examples, except it's not a quote. It's just something from that page. So this, I cited Jones, page 123, because that's where it came from. Notice in this case, I'm telling you a little bit about where the source is, the New York Times, which is a good thing to do. And then again, citation parentheses. Desmond and colleagues found in the Milwaukee Renters study that blah, blah, blah. Desmond et al. Et al. Means and those guys for when you have multiple authors. Again, author's last name, page number in parentheses. And in the sentence, I tell the reader about where the information is from, which is something you should do. And here's another example. According to research done by the Urban Institute, blah, blah, blah. And here's the author in parentheses. Again, et al. Because there's multiple authors. And in my sentence, I'm telling the reader where the information is from. Here's another example. Data collected by Desmond and other scholars in the Eviction Lab website shows that in Milwaukee, blah, blah, blah. In this case, I'm using the article title in parentheses because there's no author's name listed. Tip: introduce your source to the reader in your sentence. A quote will mean nothing to the reader if all you have is a random last name in parentheses. Tell us who it is. and show the readers that you have credible sources. So you want to tell the reader in your sentence where the information is from in order to make yourself look good, make it to show that you have good sources. All right, we're done with this. Oh, sorry, we're not done with this one. So again, what goes in parentheses? Author's last name and page number. Author's last name when there is no page number for something online. And then, of course, sometimes you just put the page number because you already told the reader who the author is. But still, it's cited. This right here, that counts as a citation because you're telling your reader where it's from. If there's no author listed for some article, if you can't find a name of the person who wrote it, then you put a short version of the article title in quotation marks like this. Do not put in parentheses. Do not put URLs like CNN.com. And do not put publication titles or website names. And I saw that. That's kind of a natural mistake because it seems like something you would. But in MLA format, you don't. Okay? So the only thing that ever goes in parentheses is page numbers, author's last names, or short version of the article title if there's no author. Okay, now we're moving on. Next document. We'll be quick on this one. So, titles. So, evicted goes in italics because that's the name of a book. When you're naming an article title, you put in quotation marks. Okay? And I think that's all you need to know for this one. Evicted goes in italics. Any article titles go in quotation marks. Next. If you have a long quote in your essay, you're supposed to format it differently. And so here's an example here. So let's pretend I'm in the middle of a paragraph right here. And so I'm leading into my quotation, and I have a long one. Notice that it's indented all like this, that there's no quotation marks, and then I have a citation at the end, which is the same, pretty much the same as normal. And then I go back over here because I'm still in the same paragraph. Only use long quotes when you have something really, really great for your essay. Usually you don't use long quotes. But if you have something that's really dynamite and perfect, you can set it up like that. Next. How to make the works cited page. So, on essay 1, the only thing you put on the works cited was evicted. But for essay 2, there's more going on. You have other sources that you found yourself. So, write works cited at the top of the page and center it. Definitely get open power notes. You need to be online when you're making your works cited page, so you can follow these instructions. For evicted, here's your citation right there. And of course you did that on essay 1, so you know how to do it. For other articles, it depends on where you found it, but you have to figure out how to make that entry for your works cited. So let's say you're using the library database. So here you are at the LMC library. Here you are, you found an article, right? You're going to use Evictions Fallout by Desmond, which I recommend you use. So I clicked on it, and this is called the detailed record. And here, I click on Cite. I scroll down to MLA. Control C to copy. And then I'll go, okay. I don't know what that thing's doing. Anyway, so you'll copy that citation into your works cited. See, there it is in MLA format.